Welcome back to another episode of the GOAT Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Neander, with you as always. It's the early Thursday morning, ready for football tonight, baby. Thursday night football, a game that, hey, if you told me a year, maybe 2 years ago, Dolphins, Jags, that's one of those, vomit. Of course, I'm going to watch it because it's football, kind of games. I'm excited to watch tonight's game between Minshew, Fitzpatrick. They're making it happen. I'm excited. There's going to be fantasy points. It's going to be a fun game. I expect to see a lot of kind of gamesmanship out of these guys throughout the game, and we'll see how they do. But should be pretty fun. So hope everybody's doing pretty good out there on this Thursday. I'm feeling great. If you can tell, I'm kind of cleaned up a little bit. Got a little extra color here. Went out golfing yesterday out to Stone Mountain, and had a nice day. I've never played the courses out at Stone Mountain. It was difficult but fun, and I'm a hacker anyway, so it's only you make your own fun when you're out there chucking around. It's like golfing and hiking in one, because you spend half your day running through the woods trying to find your balls. If you're me, and I was driving even worse than usual yesterday. I was all over the damn place. So I just want to put the offer out there that if there's anybody out there that wants to provide golf lessons for me and help me straighten out my drive, I am more than glad to manage or co-manage or give you personal fantasy football advice on the house. We can do a little barter, a little trade action. I think it'd work out for both of us for real. So you just let me know. If you're out there, you let me know, okay? So, all right, week 3 in the NFL. We got a lot of great games this week. Still no bye week, so we have another big 16-game slate. I think next week's the first week where we have byes, a couple of teams, I think. Trying not to look too far ahead, but, hey, with all the injuries right now, it's not the worst idea to start thinking about bye weeks. And just have it on the radar. Have everything on the radar. Be looking forward always so you know what's going on, right? All right, so you know the drill. It's Thursday, so that means it's the first half of our preview show for this weekend's action. We're going to do the first half of the games today. We'll do the second half of the games tomorrow. Nice and easy. Give you starts and sits for every game. Give you some injury updates. Give you projections. It's pretty early on Thursday, so with the injuries, we'll go through a little more thoroughly tomorrow, kind of a wrap up at the end of the show. But early Thursday, a lot of guys are getting Wednesday off. They're getting maintenance days. They're getting just in case days. So it's hard to really predict at this point who's going to play, who's not going to play. But we're still listening to what's going on, and that's all we can do. Pay attention and try to make the best decisions. Luckily tonight, there's only one decision that has to be made as far as injuries go. We haven't had much news one way or the other, so it's still very much in the air. And we're going to jump into that game right now. The Dolphins are going to visit the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Florida battle, the facial hair battle, as we know it's being called, the mustache versus the beard. But you know what? Minshew doesn't even have just a mustache anymore, right? He's got more of a goatee, right? And I don't know if I'm seeing things. It looks like he's got some gray going in there, but I think he's 24, right? Hey, just saying. I don't know if I saw that, but it looked like it might have been a little salt invading the pepper there. But like I said, I expect there to be some fantasy points here. If Ryan Fitzpatrick on the Dolphin side is absolutely a sneaky start in a streaming scenario, maybe you're the Carson Wentz owner, who I'm going to tell everybody to drop right now. They just lost Jalen Reagor now. So I think you can drop guys like Carson Wentz, Drew Brees, some of these other veterans. I think that if you have those guys, you can absolutely play Ryan Fitzpatrick or Gardner Minshew in this game over them. I think those are both good plays over some of those other quarterbacks. I wouldn't start anybody in the running back position for Miami. We know Myles Gaskin so far has been the leader in touches. Jordan Howard has been the only one getting in the end zone, although that's obviously all he's really been able to do. So I'm going to stay away from this backfield here. And I think you can play Devontae Parker. He wasn't on the injury report, I don't believe, this week after the hamstring problems last week, and he was able to play, and he had a really good game. So I expect him to be pretty much fully healthy here and to absolutely be a contributor. Preston Williams, he's outside of my top 36, but I think for sure, he could have a good game. I mean, he's a dart throw, but if you wanted to make it, you could. And then Mike Gesicki, you definitely got to play him. Great week last week against the Buffalo Bills, who for the last couple of years have been one of the best against the tight end position. And he absolutely balled out, made an amazing grab down near the goal line. I mean, he looked great. He absolutely did. So I think he's locked and loaded in your lineup this week. If you're one of those fantasy owners that likes to have two tight ends on your roster, there aren't that many guys I would start ahead of Mike Gesicki, guaranteed this week. And that's certainly part of the reason why I usually never have two tight ends. I really don't want to have to make that decision. It's a tough decision a lot of times with the tight ends. But you definitely go ahead and you're playing Gesicki this week. I think he's getting more involved, by the week. And Fitzpatrick knows that he's a playmaker and he's got great hands. So, yeah, get him out there. So, again, on the Jacksonville side, Minshew, I'm not going to say he's a must play, but he's been playing great. It's a good matchup. Hey, I think it's a good play. There's no reason not to think that. He's kind of like, almost like Tannehill, where it's like you keep saying, oh, well, I don't believe it, but at the same time, how many times you got to prove it before, before people do believe it, right? So, I'm not sure. Dolphins here. Dolphins aren't great against the pass. They're the 7th worst team in yardage, giving up 4 touchdowns. So, yeah. I think you definitely play James Robinson. That's another guy. And that's why this game is a little bit difficult to pick, just because there's a lot of guys you can play. The question is, do you, and who would you play them over? I think James Robinson is a very good candidate to get back into the end zone today. Surely, at least one time, whether it's in the air or on the ground. I think this is his last game of guaranteed number 1 work. It's possible that Divine Ozigbo comes off of IR this next week and comes back onto the field. So I think he's going to want to make that last big impression. They seem to trust him, and you should trust him too. So go ahead, throw him out there in your lineup as a flex. You can roll him out there as your RB2 if you're worried about your situation and you had some injury problems. I traded away James Robinson in one league. I didn't want to do it, but really needed quarterback help, and I hope that guy plays him this week. He had Barkley, and I know he made some waiver wire moves, but I think Robinson is his play. All right, you hear me, B? All right, go ahead and play him. Oh, sorry. Here's where the injury problem comes in here, is that DJ Chark is questionable now, and as of Thursday morning, still questionable. We haven't had much other news at the moment, so we really haven't heard anything this morning yet. It's a chest back issue, we just don't know. He didn't practice yesterday, and it's definitely a question mark, and it's definitely a problem for Chark owners. He's already been, hard to play because he's not getting the targets right now, and he is scoring, and he's being great with the targets that he gets, but you were already worried, and now he's questionable for this game. You definitely might want to pivot. There's a lot of great receivers out there that can contribute. It sucks, but you might have to do that now. If you're the Keelan Cole owner, if you picked him up off waiver wires, and DJ Chark is out, I think it's a very good play this week. He's already getting the targets. He's been having a great season so far. So it's not like, DJ Chark has to be out for him to be usable. But the point is that if he's out, he's going to have that many more opportunities. He's the number 16 wide receiver on the year in half-point PPR. So, hey, that's solid wide receiver 2. So to expect him to be a wide receiver 2 if Chark is out, I think is very, very, understandable. That's all I'd play on Jacksonville, whether or not Chark plays or not. If Chark is out, I probably wouldn't go past Keelan Cole anyway. You look at Chris Conley, I guess, if Chark is out. And then the tight ends. I know they were thrown to a good amount last week, but I'm not ready to throw in Tyler Eifert or James O'Shaughnessy yet, so I'm definitely not there yet. We're going to move on. Hopefully we have a good game tonight, and hopefully if you play some guys there, you get the points you need and then some. All right, let's go to Atlanta. The Atlanta Falcons, man, we all know the deal. They just, heartbreakingly giving up games right now. Not right now like they did it both times, but, they just can't put it together. They're kind of snake bitten with this team and this coach. 0-2. I'm living in Atlanta. People are pissed. They're not happy. They're ready for Dan Quinn to go. Just like Bears fans were ready for Trubisky to go. But Bears are 2-0 coming into Atlanta, and have every opportunity to steal another game from Atlanta. I know Atlanta's going to come out and score some points, and I expect them to win the game. But they've shown they're more than glad to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. So we'll see what happens here. Now, I wouldn't be starting Trubisky. I would be starting David Montgomery. We know historically the Falcons have been pretty bad at defending running backs that catch the ball and how much they catch the ball out of the backfield. So Montgomery, I think, is absolutely in play. Tariq Cohen, I just haven't seen enough. I know they just paid him. I have no idea why. No idea why they paid him to stay around. They don't seem to care if he's around, obviously, or use him correctly, in my opinion. But they paid him to stay around, so in that sense, in a full point PPR, I think he's viable as a shot in the dark, right? They're going to be behind, hopefully, more than likely, in my opinion, and they might need to get Montgomery off the field and throw a lot of those passes to Tariq Cohen, so he could be out there. Allen Robinson has been disappointing. You're going to go ahead and you're going to play him in this game. Wide receivers are scoring left, right, and center on the Falcons, so I think you want to have him out here. And to that extent, this is like your last week you're holding on to Anthony Miller. I don't think you're playing him at all, but, he was less involved last week. Darnell Mooney, the rookie, seems to be, fighting him for that number 2 spot, and this should be a smash play for wide receivers. So if you don't get Anthony Miller looks this week, I think it's time to, maybe cut him and go somewhere else on the waiver wire. That's about it. Still not playing Jimmy Graham. I told you not to after that first week score, and then he wasn't there in week 2, and I don't expect him to be a big factor in week 3 here. So moving on to the Falcons, I think you play everybody in this game. Matt Ryan, of course. Todd Gurley, I get it. Todd Gurley hasn't been very good, but he's getting the touches. And the Bears are a very good defense, but they're not, great. They're really just not great, I don't think, anymore. It's just, they had that 1 year and they were dominant, and this is what happens with defenses. It's just the nature of the beast. I expect them to get after Matt Ryan for sure with Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack, but, I still think Gurley's, has a very good chance of getting to the end zone in this game. So I think you play Gurley. And then you play your receivers, right? Julio is questionable. Keep an eye on that. Obviously, Ridley is locked and loaded no matter what. Now, Russell Gage was already on the map and already in the discussion as that wide receiver 3 flex play every week. Because at this point, he's much better than that. I mean, he's the number 14 wide receiver through 2 weeks in half-point PPR. But, we're not expecting 14. That being said, if Julio is out, then he's absolutely a must-play. I really do believe that. You have to get him in your lineup if Julio's out. With how much volume there's been, I understand that, he's being helped out by the fact there is Julio and Calvin. But if Julio's out, you still have Calvin Ridley. So if some coverage shifts to Ridley, some target shift to Ridley, I don't see a big change, even though he might be covered a little bit more heavily. I think Russell Gage is still the beneficiary there and will get a lot of targets. I also think that Hayden Hurst, who should be in your lineup anyway, is also a beneficiary if Julio Jones is out. So I think you have Hurst in your lineup one way or the other. It doesn't matter. But he's just even that big of a play if Julio's out. Definitely could be a DFS play. Julio's out. I'm going to check the price on Hayden Hurst and maybe throw him in a DraftKings lineup or 2 this weekend. So, yeah, just thinking about it. But a lot of good plays in this game, I think, for the Falcons, even though, a lot of people are scared of that Bears defense. I'm not. I think you can play him. I think you can play your Falcons, no problem. So, all right, let's move on to my Buffalo Bills. One of the great stories of the first 2 weeks are Josh Allen and the Bills. They are hosting the also 2-0 Los Angeles Rams, and this should be a fun game. Not really sure what to expect here. Feels like one of those matchups where almost any range of outcomes can happen, and I don't know. I don't know what to think about. Josh Allen's been playing against Miami and the Jets, not the stiffest of competition there, and they've looked out of this world. So the question is, do you believe it? Are they that good? I don't think they're quite that good, but I do think, I do believe. I don't want to be a homer. I know they're my team, but I don't think that the weaknesses really are there that we thought were there. Josh Allen seems to have tightened up his completion percentage, his decision making. Again, it could be against bad defenses. I think we're going to find out on Sunday, but I do really like the Bills in this game to kind of show, hey, yeah, we're for real. So the Rams, you know, Jared Goff definitely not playing in this game. He's looked better, but it's still a tough matchup against a tough secondary, and it could be kind of a grinded out game. So I'm holding off on Jared Goff for sure. Now with the running backs, this has been one of the bigger questions of the week. Cam Akers with the rib injury, and you have Malcolm Brown with the finger injury, but it doesn't seem like he's going to be affected by it. And you have Darrell Henderson, who seemed to be the forgotten guy in week 1, who absolutely looked amazing last week and went off. We don't know who to play. Yes, you grab Darrell Henderson off the waiver wire, but in my opinion, it's not for this week unless you have to. So that's my recommendation. I wouldn't start any of the running backs except for Darrell Henderson, and I'd only start Henderson if I really, really needed to, but I'd be looking for other options. Now, the receivers, again, facing a tough matchup. It's hard to sit your Rams receivers. I'd be more inclined to sit Cooper Kupp, honestly, than Robert Woods, even though I know Woods possibly has the Tre'Davious White, tougher matchup. Woods just seems to have involvement. He's got the rushing work. He's got the short yardage and kind of early game work. And I don't know. I just feel like if I was going to play one over the other, it would be Robert Woods. But if I had him in my lineup, I'd probably be playing both. I'd probably have Kupp in there. I don't mean if I had them both on my team, I'd be playing both. I mean, if I had different teams where I had either of these guys, they'd probably be in my lineup this week. So would Tyler Higbee. Hey, 3 touchdowns. He's becoming a red zone target. That's all you got to say. You drafted him. You're playing him. Bada bing. Bada boom. Done. Buffalo. You're playing Josh Allen. He's obviously killing it. I wouldn't expect 300-plus yards through the air again and a big rushing upside. But I do think he'll be easily a QB1, and absolutely you're going to start him. I'm still not starting Buffalo running backs, and I've been telling you this for 2 weeks now. I don't know if at any point any running back is going to be the number 1. I don't know that the number 1 is going to be super valuable anyway, unless they're a clear-cut number 1. And with Josh Allen taking some goal line carries, I'm staying away from the whole Buffalo backfield still for the time being. And again, I think all 3 receivers are certainly playable. Stephon Diggs, I think, obviously needs to be in your lineup at this point. They're not messing around. They gave up a lot of draft capital for him, paid him some money, and they're using him. And he's a good fit so far. So that's great. You're playing him. I think you play John Brown in that wide receiver 3 or flex spot. He's also been heavily involved, and with how much they're throwing the ball now, I think you still have him in there. And Cole Beasley's a little bit further on the outside. He's more of a, if you need him, kind of a play. Low ceiling. Without touchdowns, he's only going to have so many yards and so many targets. He's going to be the third, option pretty much every week. And that can have value in some weeks. Other weeks, it's not going to have that much value. So I wouldn't be in a rush to play Beasley, but you could if you were in a tough spot. You could. All right? Alrighty, we're going to keep it moving quick here, man. I feel like I've been getting behind on every episode, yapping away. And the fact is, I can, talk and talk and talk and talk. But really, what you want to know is who I think you should play, who I think you shouldn't play. That's really what we're here for, right? I mean, you can get information, you can look up stats, that's fine. But, you got these guys in your lineup. Who you playing? Who you sitting? That's what we're here for. So let's keep that rolling. All right, we're going to go to Cleveland, where the Cleveland Browns host the Washington football team, and they're both 1-1. So, hey, again, another game, just like the Dolphins and the Jags, where you tell me, Washington and Cleveland, it's like, all right. We're going to get so many of these games throughout the year. It happens. There's bad teams and some bad franchises, and they're going to play each other. And these two have been pretty bad, but this is fantasy football, and there's still points to be had here, no doubt. So, who are we going to start on Washington? Let's make it really easy here. The only guy I must start is Terry McLaurin. Got to be in your lineup. Looked great last week. Looked great last year. Just it's unfortunate, but he's got a struggling young quarterback to deal with. If he was in a different position, he'd probably be a top 10 wide receiver already. Honestly. If he was in Tennessee, like A.J. Brown or something like that, I think he'd be top of the line. Um, Logan Thomas, the tight end, you can play. The targets are still there. And if the targets are there, the opportunity is ripe for the picking. At tight end, I think targets are the premium, and more so than any other position. And that's what you have to be successful, more than likely. So you can play Logan Thomas. He wasn't great again last week, but again, targets are there. He's as good of a pick. I'd play him over, Rob Gronkowski. Some of these other, fringe tight ends, I'd be playing him over. So, yeah. And then Antonio Gibson looked a lot better last week. Got a lot more work, played a lot more snaps. And I'm still sitting him this week. Cleveland still has a pretty sneakily decent, front defense. And Washington hasn't been great yet. And until he's more involved in the passing game, I think this week is going to be a pass for me on Antonio Gibson. But was able to snag him in one of my leagues after an owner had to drop him due to other injuries and had to make some room. And I was very happy to snag and put him on the end of my bench. I've got like 5 running backs on my bench in that league. So many receivers out there that can be impactful. If you have, 3 receivers up in your lineup and then another one on your bench, I think you're all right to start stacking running backs right now. I've got lots of trade bait, man. Josh Kelly, Antonio Gibson, James Robinson, lots of dudes on my bench. All right, so that's it for Washington. Like I said, you're playing McLaurin. You can play Logan Thomas, and I recommend you don't play Antonio Gibson. That's where it runs out for me. I know Steven Sims, is looking up a little bit. Not on my radar quite yet. He's stashable on your bench, but that's about it. We're talking about people that you're playing right now. And then in Cleveland, no, I'm not playing Baker Mayfield. It's a decent matchup, but they run the ball a lot, and they're going to, I think, really smash the ball into Washington this game. I know Washington has a great front line. This is going to be a great battle of lines and battle of wills. I really want to see who wins the battle here with Cleveland trying to run the ball and Washington trying to stop them. For me, it's the most intriguing battle of this game. So I do think you play both Cleveland running backs with confidence. You're playing Chubb with the volume, and Hunt is more the question mark. But I think we've seen that, when he gets his hands on the ball, it's just electric. So it's hard to keep him off. They're going to have him in 2 running back sets, and he's going to be catching balls. So, yeah, I want to have Hunt in my lineup. And I'm playing OBJ and Jarvis Landry. Playing OBJ as a, mid-tier to low-end wide receiver 2, and you're always still hopeful there's wide receiver 1 upside, especially against a team like Washington. And Landry, same thing. Not high-end wide receiver 1 upside, but I think you're playing him as a low-end wide receiver 2, with maybe mid wide receiver 2 upside. He's a pretty consistent guy, but the ceiling's not usually there. He has had some bust-out games, but that's it. And then I'd still be staying away from Austin Hooper. You may need to play him, but unless you need to, I just wouldn't. I need to see him being more involved until I'm ready to do that. So, yeah, that's still a pass for me. All right. Where are we going next? How many have we done? Were we halfway through? All right. Not bad. What's our time like? Oh, we're doing good. We're doing better. Okay. That makes me optimistic. Here we go. Let's go to Minnesota. The Tennessee Titans, 2-0. Heading to Minnesota to take on the 0-2 Vikings. And man, the Vikings don't want to fall to 0-3, but boy, did they look inept last week. Their offense looked atrocious and really couldn't get anything going. I mean, Dalvin Cook is still, getting himself into the end zone, and that's all good and well. But, it's tough going there. So, well, let's start Tennessee here. Ryan Tannehill, as I mentioned a little earlier in the show, it's just one of those, how many more weeks can you say, I don't know if I believe it, and it doesn't matter if he's out, A.J. Brown is top wide receiver. It doesn't matter if Derrick Henry rolls the ball 30-plus times and they only throw the ball 20-something times. It really seems like, no matter who they play and what the situation is, he scores 20 points, for fantasy at least. Gets you a couple touchdowns, gets you 250, and sometimes more. And he's still out there in a lot of leagues. And that's the crazy thing. And, so the thing is, again, this week, All right, A.J. Brown still might be out. Well, he was out last week and he threw 4 touchdowns. So, I don't know the problem. Again, I'm not going to anoint him into that top 5, top 6, because those guys are, the elite, and they put up the huge numbers. But, it's hard to say he's not startable every week at this point. It's not even a streaming thing. Just, matchup proof, almost startable. I know it's weird to say, but I think you want to get him in your lineup. Again, if you're one of those Carson Wentz owners, Drew Brees owners, maybe Tom Brady owners, a little bit worried right now, I think you play Ryan Tannehill. So, yeah. Derrick Henry's in your lineup. Not looking great, but he's running the ball 25 plus times. Going to score eventually on that kind of usage. So, you're going to play him. And then, A.J. Brown, I'd be worried about playing him. Even if they say he's good to go, I'd be a little bit stressed out. So, I'm going to wait to see if he's 100% and practices in full on Thursday and or Friday. And if he does practice in full, then hey, go ahead and play A.J. Brown, great. If he doesn't, and they say he's good to go, I'm going to hold off. Again, there's so much depth at wide receiver. Why take the chance at getting that goose egg when you can get, 10, 12 points somewhere else? And you absolutely can. Even in this game, out of Adam Humphries, right? If A.J. Brown is out, you can pivot to Adam Humphries, and I think you're going to get the points that you need. So, just look at it that way. Corey Davis, yeah, you should have him in your lineup. At this point, he's got the usage. I know there's a little bit of an injury concern, but I think it's a maintenance day right now. Same with Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith should be in your lineup. I understand you may have a better option, and he might be your backup, and hey, if that's it, then so be it. You're wealthy in tight ends, and you have trade bait if you need it. But if you have, a tight end that's on that fringe top 10, then you probably should be playing Jonnu Smith. He's got that big playability. He's fast, and he's got Tannehill's trust in the red zone. So, Jonnu Smith is a great guy to have in your lineup this week as well. Minnesota, if I remember, has been pretty bad against tight ends this year, so could be kind of a smash play here. We'll see. All right, Minnesota, Kirk Cousins, definitely not playing him in this matchup. I know he's at home. Look for him to maybe turn it around and have a little bit of a better week. But, just doesn't put him on the radar. There's so many good quarterbacks out there. So he's off the radar. Dalvin Cook, is in your lineup. Alexander Madison is not in your lineup. He should be on your bench, but not in your lineup. And then Adam Thielen is going to be in your lineup, and that's probably it. I really want Justin Jefferson to step up into this number 2 role, and I'd love to see him start getting 6+ targets a game. I think that the offense will get better when he is the clear-cut number 2, and B.C. Johnson falls, far back as the number 3. But, we don't know when that's going to happen or if that's going to happen. Adam Thielen, who was really bad last week, is still the number 1. Is still a big playmaker. You're going to have him in your lineup. It's going to take balls of steel to probably have him on your bench or a really deep team. So, yeah. And then you're not playing any tight ends here. All you have are touchdown dependent Kyle Rudolph, and should be the starter but isn't yet, Irv Smith Jr. What are you gonna do? We're gonna move to New England. This is oddly one of my more favoritist. Now, one of my favorite games for the weekend. The Las Vegas Raiders, the 2-0 Raiders, going to play the New England Patriots in Foxborough. And, Cam Newton, one of the bigger stories of the start of the season as well. And let's see. So, Vegas 2-0 coming off that really great game on Monday night. Their first home game. And they look great against the Saints. Come out with a big win. So, what do we have going on here with the Vegas Raiders? I'm not playing Derek Carr at all. He's on the road against New England. He's been looking good, but let's just be honest here. It's very possible you get 5 points in this game from Derek Carr. And just that type of floor, is unacceptable for your quarterback on any given week. It just is. The ceiling is not anywhere near where it needs to be to even think about playing that kind of floor. So, I just don't want to be fooled into it. He's looking good. He had 3 touchdowns. It's great. Just stay away from him this week. Obviously, you're going to play Josh Jacobs. Fantastic. And you're going to play Darren Waller, the tight end. And he was spammed with targets last week. 16 targets, I think. Maybe 14, maybe 16. Either way, he was spammed all game. he was like the only person that had more than 3 or 4 targets. So yeah, you're gonna play Darren Waller, and for me that's it. Henry Ruggs, Brian Edwards, Hunter Renfrow are all fringe dart throws that I don't want to make. Not this week against the Patriots in New England. Just don't want to do it. If I'm playing anyone, it's Ruggs, just because any play can turn into a long play and a touchdown with the ball in his hands. So that would be who I would play if I had to. Don't want it though. I do not want it. All right, here. Last couple of games, the San Francisco 49ers are, oh man, wait. Sorry, y'all. I jumped ahead there. I did the Raiders. I didn't do the Patriots. Let's get to those Patriots. You're playing Cam Newton, a man back to being Superman. Maybe he'll bring back the dab. I hope not, but I don't know if it's been long enough for it to be retro again, or just to go back in style. But he looks great. He looks like the old dabbing Cam out there. He's throwing the ball. He's running the ball. Man, Patriots team. Buffalo. I thought we had a clear path to the division this year. And I still believe if Jarrett Stidham was the quarterback, we would. But that is not the case. And now I'm sweating it. But you're playing Cam Newton. You're not playing any running backs, in my opinion, out here. They definitely could get a score. Addisoni Michelle or Rex Burkhead or anybody else could get a score. But really, if they get close, you can tell it's Cam Newton, right? They're not even pretending like it's anything else. He's just grabbing the ball and looking around, just standing there like, oh, all right, shit, I'm going to go that way. And then he's just running it in. And if he gets stopped, they're just doing it again. And if you stop them, they're just going to do it again. That's it. So it's pretty crazy at this point. But if you're a Cam Newton owner, you're thrilled with the spamming the goal line runs. That's great. But yeah, so you're not playing any other running backs, in my opinion. James White probably won't play in this game. We know about the tragic circumstances there. So he's not going to be out there. And you're playing Julian Edelman after his monstrous game last week. Got to be in your lineup. We see that the connection is also there between them. And then N'Keal Harry is one of the more popular waiver wire pickups on the week. And for good reason. He had 12 targets. I think he caught 6 or 8 balls. And hey, if the Patriots offense is going to start humming like this and going like this, then yeah, you're going to want pieces of it. And N'Keal Harry is a guy that at this point definitely must be rostered, across all formats and all leagues, and shouldn't probably be in your starting lineup this week, but he could be, and he's sneaky, and he needs to be rostered. So do that, and that's about it. Damiere Byrd had a nice week, but he's a number 3, and they're still going to run the ball, so I'm not going there yet. All right, yep. All right, moving along. As I was about to say, the San Francisco 49ers heading to the Giants, take on New York. 2 of the more, the Giants, not about the amount of injuries, it's about the impact of injuries. But with San Fran, it's both. It's the amount and the impact of injuries. San Fran is just beat up all over the place. They're beat up. We don't know if Garoppolo's going to play. Whether or not it's Garoppolo or Nick Mullins, I know it's at the Giants. And they could still perform, but I'm going to hold off. I'm going to wait it out. I'm not going to play any San Francisco 49ers quarterback this week. Now, I would absolutely play Jerick McKinnon, especially if they say Raheem Mostert is out. We already know Tevin Coleman is out. And I believe Raheem Mostert will be out at least this week. And if that's the case, Jerick McKinnon will be a 1 week, absolute monster play, in my opinion. And it could happen where, I say that, and then, we say that happens sometimes. We're like, oh, this guy must get all the work this week in this great offense, because who else is going to get the work? And then, practice squad dude comes out and balls out, right? I mean, anything could happen, but if Mostert is out, absolutely, McKinnon is, in my opinion, a must start in your lineup. And if they say Mahoster's going to give it a start, Mahostert. If they say Raheem Mostert is going to go ahead and give it a start, then I still think you can play McKinnon as a flex. With the work he got last week, with how good he looked, they're easing him in. I think he's going to have a great week this week. And I don't want to play anybody else for the 49ers. I don't even know who would be at this point with the injuries. I mean, if George Kittle comes back, you're playing him. So that's the truth. I know that. If George Kittle comes back, absolutely going to be in your lineup no matter what the health is, just because, hey, where you drafted him and what he can do. So I understand that. But I'd be sweating it, and there's really nobody else I'm playing. Kendrick Bourne, Trent Taylor, Brandon Ayuk, none of that. None of that. And then the Giants. Again, they lost Saquon Barkley for the year. Terrible, terrible news. Terrible, terrible luck. And that's just no bueno for these Giants. So Daniel Jones at home against a really depleted 49ers defense. Richard Sherman, Nick Bosa, Solomon Thomas, all gone. I still don't know that I can play Daniel Jones without the running game. They got Devontae Freeman. I don't know how involved he'll be. I am basically staying away from this game. Just to be honest with you. Jerick McKinnon's the only guy I'm playing, absolutely, especially if Mostert's out, like I said. But I'm pretty much staying away from this game. I guess you can play Evan Ingram, and you probably want to if you have him. But I'd probably play T.J. Hawkinson over him, and I'd play Noah Fant over him, and I'd play Mike Gesicki over him. I know most of those guys are owned, but they're back end guys. I don't know. I wouldn't want to play my Giants. That's all I'm saying. I know Darius Slayton. They're gonna have to throw the ball to somebody, and looks like Sterling Shepard's gonna be out. So hey, you can throw Darius Slayton in there or Golden Tate, sure. Just don't know. I feel like it's gonna be an ugly kind of sloppy game on offense, and I could be completely wrong, but we'll see. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. But yeah, overall, I'm kind of staying away from this game. I just don't like it. Don't have the good feels. All right, our last game on the docket for today. I like the word docket. It's one of my things. And slate. It's the last game on our docket of games for the slate of games this weekend. That's very Ron Burgundy of me. Okay, moving on. The Cincinnati Bengals traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Both these teams are 0-2. Both these teams seem to be moving in different directions right now. The Bengals, they have Joe Burrow looking pretty darn good right now, and they're feeling optimistic. I know they're not winning games at the moment, but they have to feel great about what could be in the next year or two. And Philadelphia has to be thinking, what are we going to do? How are we going to rebuild this team into a contender again? This team is bad. I know the injuries are killing the Eagles, but I don't know what they're doing. I feel like there hasn't been like an influx of talent there in forever, right? Other than Miles Sanders. So let's talk about the matchups this week. If I'm the Bengals fantasy owners and I've got Burrow and Mixon, I'm throwing them in the lineup this week against the Eagles. I know the Eagles have a good defense. Not great. They have a good defense. And got Darius Slay out there, and you got a tough front seven. This team is just in disarray. And the question is, are they going to right the ship this week, or is it going to continue to sink? And I think it's going to continue to sink. I think they're in the vortex of the whirlpool right now. And I don't see them finding their way out of it this week. I think they're going to be painfully struggling against Cincinnati. And people think Cincinnati's a really bad defense. They're not. They give up a lot of rushing yards, but not that many passing yards, and definitely not that many passing touchdowns. They kind of clamp down as needed. I don't know. This is a trap game, man. Philly's given 5.5 points, and I know they're at home. Without the fans, I might be inclined to bet on the Cincinnati Bengals in this game. Maybe not necessarily to win, but to cover 5.5. I think it's going to be a dogfight here. So yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow, he might be your second quarterback on your team, and you might have somebody better than him, and that's fine. But I think Joe Burrow is very playable this week. I really do. They're not afraid to throw the ball. Zach Taylor's not afraid to get him going. So I'm okay getting Burrow out here, man, unless you have a better option, which you might. But I'd have Burrow on the back end of the quarterback one cluster. Around 13, 12, 13, 14. So I think you can play him. Joe Mixon, you got to get him out there. The work is there. The points will come. got to keep playing Mixon. That's why you drafted him, and they still have trust in him. I'd like to see him come off the field a lot less for Gio Bernard. Nothing against you, Gio Bernard. I'm glad you still are getting yourself paid to be a backup, man, because you've been getting paid to do that for a long time, and that's awesome. But I don't know, man. I'd be giving the ball to Joe Mixon as much as possible. That's me. And then the wide receivers. So, AJ Green, I know he's been really bad with the targets he's gotten, but how do you argue with that many targets? We all know in fantasy football that you got to have opportunity for the most part, and not every wide receiver is going to have a 4-for-4 game and get 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. You love that, but the reality is you want those 8, 9, 10 plus target games to have those big weeks. And AJ Green is having those targets. I'm glad I don't have shares of them because, I'd be scared. I'd be feeling a little chicken to play AJ Green right now. But I think in this matchup, you play him. I think you get him out there. I also think you play Tyler Boyd. Came on last week. Hasn't been as good as you wanted maybe in the first 2, but looked good last week, and I think he's going to be a part of the offense. So I just think they're going to be able to move the ball against this team, and there's going to be points. So the outside sleeper here is, of course, Drew Sample. A ton of tight end targets coming from Joe Burrow, like an alliteration. Ton of tight end targets. But Joe Burrow was looking that way pretty often between CJ Uzomah and Drew Sample, and now, unfortunately, Uzomah's gone for the year. So, Drew Sample could step in and see more than a handful of targets on a weekly basis, and that puts you every week to be in conversation in that back end of that tight end 1, group. You can be a streamer any week if you're going to get 5-6 targets as a tight end. And he could have weeks where he gets 8 to 10. Burrow seems to like that outlet, and we'll see. So, am I going to play Drew Sample this week? I don't know. I mean, who would I play Drew Sample over? I'd obviously play him over Rob Gronkowski. I'm very down on Gronk, and I would absolutely play him over Rob Gronkowski. Guys like Austin Hooper, I'd play him over Austin Hooper. I'd play him over Dalton Schultz probably this week, so that's a big name too that we'll get to tomorrow. So there's definitely guys I'd play him over, absolutely. And then for Philly, at this point, I'm just grossed out by it. I'm not playing Wentz. They just lost Jalen Reagor now for an unknown amount of time. Alshon Jeffrey's not back. Their top targets are Greg Ward and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and those aren't good targets. Arcega-Whiteside is disappointed since being drafted last year, and he's in his second year and hasn't really taken any steps forward. It doesn't look like. And then they got Deshaun Jackson they're still trotting out there. So I guess if you had to play a wide receiver, you're going to play Deshaun Jackson. But I don't want to play Carson Wentz is the point. I don't want to have him in my lineup. I know you're thinking, he's at home against the Bengals. And maybe I'm wrong. And maybe he throws 3 touchdowns to Deshaun Jackson. It absolutely could happen. But I'm staying away from Wentz definitely this week and probably from this week on for the time being. Now, Miles Sanders should be a great play in this week. He looked great last week. Cincinnati, not very good against running backs. So, roll out Miles Sanders and expect a nice, big, fat, chunky week from him, which you'll be happy as a Miles Sanders owner to get one of those this week. And then on the outside, again, as I said, if you got to play somebody, you're playing Deshaun Jackson, very high ceiling because he has very little competition for high-value targets out there. But it's also a low floor. You know that. The floor is always there with Deshaun Jackson. So with the injury bug in Philly right now, I don't know. I don't know what I want to play D-Jax, but you can. And then the tight ends. You're going to play them both probably if you have them. Zach Ertz for sure, and Dallas Goedert probably. Goddard's just looked good enough. He's getting enough targets that it's hard to keep him out of your lineup. I totally get that. And, he didn't have a good week last week. That's fine. But you're probably going to go back to playing Dallas Goedert this week with just a lack of receiving options on the Philadelphia side. That's just what it comes down to. They need, dependable people to throw the ball to. And both their tight ends are uber dependable. That's what they do. It's their MO, as they say. So, I don't know, I like this game to be a close game, kind of an ugly game. A lot of running the ball. And yeah, I think a lot of the points are going to come from the ground here. So we'll see what happens. We'll see. We'll see. I'm probably going to be completely freaking wrong, right? Yeah. Well, yeah, it's been a little struggling. I mean, I've got some good fantasy teams. I've got some bad ones. I'm definitely struggling in my big league, like what I would consider my biggest league, man. Probably the one I'm most invested in. And I'm 0-2. Carson Wentz. Ugh, as you can't tell, the personal level of betrayal. But yeah, I got a lot of really good teams and a lot of good things happening. I'm feeling good. I'm in the top 3 in scoring in a number of my leagues. And I'm healthy. I came out of week 2, going into week 3 relatively healthy. I had almost no draft picks in the top 5 this year. So I didn't lose, Barkley or McCaffrey or anything like that in any of those leagues. Don't have any Michael Thomas, So yeah, I mean, I'm lucky right now. Knock on that wood. All right. So that's going to do it for us today. That was the last one. We're going to get to the other 8 games tomorrow. Now, again, we're going to give you a full injury update tomorrow. Let you know who we think's going to play, who we think's not going to play, while we go over the rest of the games that are on the docket. But for tonight, just keep an eye on DJ Chark. Right now it's early, but just listen. Again, I'm usually not a fan of playing guys that are questionable going right into the game on a short week, especially. So I'd probably be thinking about pivoting away from DJ Chark. You can do that with Keelan Cole in the same game. If Chark is out, I love that play, moving right over to Cole. But there's also other great wide receivers you can go with. There's no shortage of them, all right? So just keep that in mind. All right, thanks everybody for joining us at the GOAT. Listen, y'all, trying to get some more people on, trying to get some more views, some more shares, subscribers, all that good stuff, man. Listen, it's a very competitive landscape out there for anybody trying to do any kind of show on the internet, podcasts, all that stuff. So we're all trying to get out to some more ears and some more eyes and all that good stuff. Hit me up on Twitter at GOATFF Podcast, at Jim Neander. You can find me there. Ask me any of your start sit questions if you'd like to. I'm more than glad to jump on there and help out before the Sunday games. Just let me know. Hit me up. Leave me some comments. Whatever you want. Whatever I can do better for you. Any questions you have. Any segments you'd like to see. Any different format you'd like to recommend. Just let me know. I'm open, man. I'm open to it. So, all right, y'all. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Enjoy your game tonight. Let's get some points in this Florida matchup here. Play some Jags. Play some Dolphins. There's nothing like having some action on Thursday night, putting your feet up. There's no competition. There's no 6 other games on. Watch your game. Watch your player. Enjoy it. Enjoy those points. Enjoy that lead you have going into Sunday. We'll see you tomorrow, y'all. Have a good one. Till then,